Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. We're headed out on the water today to do some winter bass fishing. We've got beautiful conditions. We're on a highland reservoir. Let's go. I'm really excited to get started. I love highland reservoir fishing in the winter. It sets up beautifully for some of my favorite techniques. The goal today is to catch them on a jig and a crankbait. I have no idea if that will work. I have not been on this lake in over a year, and as the sun is coming up, I'm seeing that the water level is completely different than the last time I was here, so it's essentially a brand new lake. But I've got 4 different jigs, a speed crank, and a strolling rod out on deck. That's definitely how I want to catch them. We'll see what the fish think about that. Let's get started. There's one, right on the paws. Nice large mouth. That's a good start right there. Check him out. Hey buddy, calm down, calm down. I'm too cold for that. Tactical DD75, nice largemouth to get us started. I'm out here on the end of a long tapering point, right where it breaks to deep water. Burned it out off the edge of that thing, or at least in my head what would be the edge, and paused it, and dunk, there he is. It's like clockwork. Man, I love that bite. There's one. Smallmouth. She's only got one hook. Now we're gonna net that one. Come here. Gotcha. Nice smallie. Same thing, just burning that thing. I'm grinding. It's like it's a mud bottom with chunk rock on it. I can feel it just tink, 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 hitting that rock. And I'm just as fast as I can throwing the occasional pause. Burn, 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 pause, burn, pause. Boom, they just load up on that thing. Just so much fun on a freezing cold winter morning. This is why I get an early start in the winter. Sometimes, I mean, my ultimate goal is to catch a giant. But it seems like sometimes better fish will scoot a little shallower early morning. That crankbait, even in a highland reservoir, where these fish will probably this afternoon, if I was going to guess, will be positioning between 20 and 40 foot deep. But right now, they're in that 10 to 25. And I'm able to get that crankbait over the top of them and get some of them to go. I don't think it'll last all day, although we've got some cloud cover, so maybe it will. But I got out here in the dark, made a long run, just so I would have a shot while some of these fish are moved up in the morning. You guys have seen this many times before, but we're about to rescue a crankbait. Got my lure retriever. We're gonna run our line through the 2 eyelets, then send that down there to hit that crankbait, either knock it free, or if it won't knock it free, catch the hooks and pull it out. Gotta get back over the top of it. All right, I'm threading it onto my line. I just let it slide down the line. Nice tight line until it hits, and then I slack it. Here we go. Got it. Took 2 hits. So it knocked it free, but if it hadn't, I already had the hooks and the chains. So I would have destroyed the hooks, but I would have gotten my bait back either way. No worse for wear there. It's perfect. Just save some money. All right, our first stop was a success. Couple really nice fish on the crankbait. It's time to fire up. We'll make another big run. Essentially what we're going to do today, you know, like I said in the beginning, it's a highland reservoir. So I'm looking for ends of long tapering points where they come out and roll off. That's one of my favorite places to fish. Island tops that top out. By island top, I mean a hump underwater. It doesn't actually hit the surface. So the top of an underwater island that tops out at a good depth, maybe 20 to 40 foot. And then I'm looking for main lake points that divide big arms. And I'm looking for pinch points, so a narrow spot in a creek arm or on the main lake where it gets really narrow and there's a point on both sides. We'll fish both of those. Those are the sorts of things I'm running around looking for. We're just gonna see if we can run enough of that and run into some really good fish. There's one. Get up here, bud. Yeah. Gosh, I love a winter jig bite. Thank you, my friend. Throwing a 5/8 ounce finesse football, 5-inch Yamamoto double tail on there. Dunk. Love that jig bite. Little guy, but he wanted it. This spot where I've caught these last couple jig fish is really interesting. You can see I'm really close to the point here, but where I'm sitting, I found this spot by using the mapping on my unit. So I was looking at my mapping and I found a spot where the river channel comes right in against the shore. So I'm throwing my jig up there in 10 to 20 foot on this point, but the boat is sitting in over 80 feet of water. Deep water access is a major thing to highland reservoir fish. The ability to make big adjustments in the water column without having to move big distances. I love spots that come out and break, because when they want to feed, they can move up. When they don't, they can move down. If a nasty storm comes, they can back off. You know, bluebird hits, they can back off. Early morning, they can slide up. It's just a good spot where they have options without having to cover a lot of distance. So finding these areas where they break to deep water can be the key. Nice smallmouth. A downsized. I've hit 2 more spots just like that 80-foot spot. I'm now sitting in about 40 foot of water on the side of this one. I've had a couple of short strikes on the jig, so I dropped down to that 2.5-inch hula grub. I'll put that on a Great Lakes finesse football because it's got a perfect hook size to pair up to that. A little 2-aught in it. Threw on this point. I figured if I'm getting short struck on the bigger jig, I'll try downsizing, and that was the first bite. Dunk. I mean, he hit it hard. That was pretty cool. Ooh, it feels like a good one. Hard to tell. I've been using a jig rod all morning. Now I'm using a spinning rod. Oh no, it's a good fish. Really nice fish. Come here. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Look at that. Strolling right down the side of this point. It's a spot that I've caught a lot of fish in the past. So I feel like they're up there. I just take this thing. It's that little Crush City bait. Fire it up there, let it hit bottom, and then just slowly shake it all the way down the side of that point. That one was 2/3 of the way to the boat, and just the faintest little tick. You know, I am using a lot of really high-end gear today. You guys might have noticed. You know, that's a Poison Adrena with a Stella. You know, Poison Ultima with an Aldebaran, and NRX Plus with a Metanium. Sensitivity is a big deal. Now, do you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars? No, of course not. But within your budget, sensitivity really helps. The colder it gets in winter, the more frozen I am, the more I rely on really sensitive gear. I pull out the most sensitive rods that I own, because when I'm really cold, my reaction time slows down. My brain registers the bite, but my hand is not as fast as it is in the warmer months. So I rely on my most sensitive gear to detect bites sooner, to have them be more clear in my numb hands, so that I can connect on as many of those fish as possible. Of course, you want to stay within your budget. So that might be, you know, your most expensive rod might be 80 bucks, but you use that instead of your $20 combo, because the odds of you feeling those fish go up, and then on up from there in the price points. But this is the time of year to use your most sensitive setups to maximize your time, so you don't miss bites in the cold. That's a nice fish. I wasn't paying attention at all. I was looking out here off the break, just kind of hopping and dragging that jig. That fish just picked it up. Nice fish. Again, throwing that hula grub. I've definitely had to do some downsizing today. Not all the time. They're eating the jig too, but I'm getting more short strikes than I would expect. Either like a pop and then nothing there, or it'll just start to load up and I pull on them and they're there and then they drop it. But they're just grabbing at the backs. In fact, looking at this trailer, the tips are torn up. This leg is almost bit completely off. That is exactly representative of what I'm feeling at the other end. They're just nipping at these jigs, but they're still working. Got him. Feels like a good one. Nice largemouth. Beautiful. Beautiful. Man, that is just so much fun. Oh my goodness. We've now been bit on every single jig that I had on deck. That's the last one. We've been bit on every single rod that I tied on and got out of the rod locker this morning. I mean, to a T, the things I wanted to do are the things they're eating. This is fun. Feel smaller, yep, little guy. Hey, buddy. That was almost straight up and down. Little smallmouth. Got him. Gotcha. Oh, that is so much fun. I felt that one clear as a bell. It was subtle, but it was still a tick. Just dink. Love it. That fish was out there deep. Nice fish. These largemouth are so cold, he doesn't even want to fight. One last fish on the mooch minnow. We'll end it with that one right there. Throwing that little guy. I wasn't even using this as a strolling bait. It's got a little tail on it. I was just slow swimming it as a swim bait. Picked off one more nice fish. You know, the really fun thing about today is we came out here with intention. I mean, I had specific things tied on. I had 3 or 4 different jigs tied on. I had the speed crank and I had a minnow. I felt like I should be able to make that work, but I had no information. It's this time of year, right? Those are some of my favorite things to do. I love cranking. I love throwing that jig. It just gets them. So we came out here with a plan, and then from there we had to execute, and we did it. We caught them on all of those different things. Caught them on all the different jigs. I was using a couple different trailers. I always throw that 5-inch Yamamoto, but on the smaller jig, I was using that Rains G-tail. It's just a downsized double tail grub. And of course that hula grub as well. The big thing this time of year, guys, is try to build a pattern. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, try to build a pattern, because if you can find fish right now in the heart of winter, they tend to not go anywhere. If you can get on them, unless there's some giant weather event, you can repeat that trip after trip after trip. So it's worth, if you get a bite or two, trying to repeat it, looking for an actual pattern. Today we started out with those fish on the Tactical DD, speed cranking. That first one ate just right on the paws. I love it. Just clockwork, right? But after that, those fish backed out like I thought they would. And we got on a pattern fishing those really steep transitions, essentially underwater bluff walls, even though we couldn't see them. You know, breaking from 5 to 10 foot to 100+ feet. And I ran 20 places like that, and we probably got bit on 10 of them, which is an amazing pattern, because now I could take that and I could do that again tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, because we know exactly how those fish are setting up. We know they can move up and down those spots, so they have no reason to leave those spots. All right, guys, with that, we're gonna wrap it up. I'll take everything I caught them on, I'll link it all in the video description for you. So if you're trying to figure out which jig that is, you know, which trailer, the rod, all that stuff, I'll link it all in the description. I really enjoyed getting out here and doing some winter fishing. I'm really glad you came along. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.